Hello, everybody. This is C.J. Miller. I'm in my kitchen. I've got this pile of wings here that I'm fixing to do a little something different. Now, I'm in my kitchen across the Red River from beautiful Bossier City, Louisiana. My city is Shreveport, Louisiana. Do come check us out if you're passing through. Always want to include that invitation to see what we have. Okay, um, so I just discovered this. It was like, a new, a different way to do chicken wings that I never thought of. And so it's basically using a baking powder. It was suggested to use a non-aluminum baking powder. I don't know if I had a non-aluminum baking powder on hand, but let's see. Cornstarch, sodium bicarbonate. Uh, yeah, so there is sodium aluminum sulfate, which is very akin to table salt. So I don't want to add salt anyway. But anyway, I did use a lot. I put a lot in this bowl, and that's what I'm going to coat these with. Basically, I'm just going to season the baking powder and let that coating get on there, and then I'll put it on a pan. And then I'm going to season with a little black pepper. So yeah, I like a fair amount of seasoning. And then let's see what to have. Yeah, kind of toss that around. And basically, that's pretty much it. Now, I'm not going to worry about adding onions or garlics or anything like that because this is going to be an oven baked chicken. I'm going to put it in my oven. And this recipe, I forget the name of the person, but she was it was a British YouTube video that I saw, like British or Welsh or something like that. I don't know. I don't know why that came up. I guess because I talk so much about wings that it's in my algorithms. But yeah, and of course she suggested cutting the tips off of the wings. I leave them on because I think they're really groovy. I also just leave the wings whole, and if I want to figure for them or something like that. But I don't know. I think there's a lot of good flavor that comes out of the wings uh, on these little tips of the wings there, and it's like, okay, cool, because I will gnaw on that. I will eat that. I do not care. But if you think that's weird, I've seen I've seen people sell chicken feet, like actual feet, chicken feet, and basically it's like I guess they flavor things with it. I don't know what they do with that. What do you do with the chicken foot? Last time I saw like an actual chicken foot, much less a package of chicken feet. I don't know. I think it was like in the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, the chicken bones that they made, the chicken mobiles with and stuff. I don't know. But anyway, so I'm gonna like bread this up and get back with you in a second. For me, it'll be a lot longer than a second, but for you, it'll be a second. uh, After I pause the video, and then we'll come back with the finished product and we'll see what happens. Okay, and so now we're going to talk a little bit about this plant. Not too long. Uh, so this, as you can see, it's a little bit darker green. That was what broke off from the other side, from the base of the plant, and I actually thought that I'd be able to get it to take root, and I don't think it's happening. I don't think it's happening. Anyway, the end of it was really black and murky. What I did do was I trimmed it, put it back into the soil, and actually I used some of the uh, some of the aloe that comes from it, and I didn't squish it or anything like that. I just what was naturally popping fresh out of it. Uh, I basically used that as a skin firmer around my forearms and elbows and things like that. The aloe is really great for conditioning of the skin. It's also good for soothing bites, scrapes, burns. Uh, just scratches, any sort of skin irritation. It's really good for soothing. I don't know if it's got actual healing in and of itself, but the uh, the way that it coats the skin adds protection to the skin while it's on the skin and gives a little bit of firming and everything. So it's actually, uh, unless you have an allergy to it, probably really good and as a cosmetologist, a former cosmetologist, I knew this. It's really good for skin. Actually, I first learned it. My great aunt Miller, my dad's aunt, and where was she from? Some small town, Morningsport, maybe. I don't know. We went to see her a few times. Not as often as I would have liked, but yeah, we went to see her a few times. And one time she gifted my family with an aloe, and it was because I had gotten bit by mosquitoes, running around, and I'm like really allergic to mosquito bites. Like they don't send me to the hospital or anything. They just like a mosquito bite for a normal person is fine, but for me, they will they'll really give me whelps, and hives and everything. And so yeah, it's like that with a lot of insect bites for me. So in general, I try to avoid that. But what she did was she sent us home an aloe plant, smaller than this one. And of course, what I learned from that is that while it's good to prune, it's not good to over prune an aloe plant. Well, I took this one out into the sun today, and each day I'm going to take it out into the sun for a few hours during the daytime because it's in a patio and it is indirect light, but it's going to be a little bit warmer than it actually is in the apartment. And I want to see if that will help give, a firmer skin to these aloe leaves and a stronger base to the stalk. And of course, I'm using both partially for visual, but I'm using both maracas in the set to brace those bottom leaves, and then. Yeah, so I got a kind of a visual thing going on right now as I trimmed that one super green aloe back there in the back. That's the one that broke off and I trimmed it and all that kind of good stuff. But yeah, it makes a good, like kind of a semicircle, kind of a visual arc, So, whatever. I like the look, I like the lines, but I really want this plant to do well. Okay, so none of the other leaves seem to be on the verge of breaking, so that's good. And one of the things, I'm noticing a little spot here, but I don't know what that is. If that is a thinness starting to develop, perhaps going outside for a little bit will help. We'll see. So plant saga. Stay tuned and more in the next few days. And when we come back, we'll be dealing with chicken wings again. Okay, so here we are. Now I've taken the wings and I put them into the oven, 400 degrees and for 40 minutes. I'm going to let them rest here for a second. But what I'd like to see, and this is looking okay, but what I would like to see is I would like to see a little bit more of the baking powder mixture that I used, which was double acting baking powder. And then I just added black pepper and coated the chicken, and perhaps I would like to see more moisture on the coating of this chicken. This would work if I'm going to take this and I'm going to toss it in some hot sauce. And if you know anything about me, you know that I am. I've got some of the Crystal hot sauce that I love to use, which I think is a perfect blend. Perfect But it just so happens that I also have some of this Texas Pete hot sauce that I want to get rid of. So I'm actually going to break the rule tonight because that Crystal hot sauce is lovely. Uh, but I'm going to take both of those hot sauces and I'm going to put them in a bowl, and I'm going to toss the chicken wings in with that. So because I'm doing that, even if there's a little bit of, you know, dry baked effect on here, it's not going to matter that much. But I'm still going to come over it with a little bit of moisture, a little bit of water, and I'm going to put it on the chicken. I'm just kind of like take a spoon, gradually drizzle, just to moisten this up, and then I'm going to put it back into the 400-degree oven for probably about another 5 minutes, just to get the you know, the powdery finish off of it. I don't like that. That's one thing that happens with a oven baked chicken. Sometimes if you don't moisten it, you'll get this powdery finish. Okay, so I've got my low exhaust fan on, and you can see the steam coming off of this. I did put a little water, drizzle it over some of the pieces to reduce that powderyness that was going on, and I think overall it's going to be a better experience. So this is going back into the oven for 5 to 10 more minutes, just until I'm sure that it's pretty done. I don't know how I feel about this particular method. I think it's neat. I think it's going to be a lighter finish, but I don't know. All right, so this is much better. I probably, honestly, I really like the way that a flour encrusted chicken wing works a little bit better than this. But also I could have gotten, you know, the more you put a little bit of moisture on, the less of the powdery finish that you get. I'm not too concerned about a little bit of that because I'm going to put them in the hot sauce, as I've said. But this is, I guess I can go ahead and turn this fan off now. So let me take one of these, put it on a plate, and I'll taste it before I put it in the sauce. And I want to show you. These are some of the baked, but they're those breaded pecan, breaded chicken, pecan flavored chicken things that I've shown from Walmart. You know, the brown bags. I made some of these by comparison, and so what I'm going to do is I'm going to taste the wing that I just made. Then I'm going to taste it, you know, unsauced, and then I'm going to toss them around, and I'm going to compare them. Let's see how it works with the sauce. Yeah, so we'll see. So here we are. I got it in a bowl. You know, this would be kind of a good treat for a kind of a crispy-ish, kind of a naked wing treatment almost. But because there's a light crusting and a light breading on this, and I see that this baking powder is primarily, and I'm not sure of the measurements, but it's primarily cornstarch with baking soda and then some anti-caking. But to be honest with you, there was some caking in the bottom of that little can. It was probably just because it's a generic, but it's a double acting. I don't know, ashy chicken. Let's taste it. Okay, so I can tell you from pulling it apart that it is very, very crispy. And right now it is very, very hot. So I'm letting it cool for a second while we talk. It is definitely hot. Let me taste it. You know, I kind of like that black peppery base. But what I want to do is I want to take the rest of these chicken wings and I want to put it in this bowl and then toss around some Crystal hot sauce that I'm also going to block with a little bit of this Texas Pete hot sauce, just because I need to get rid of that Texas Pete hot sauce. So I'm going to come back in just a second. uh, and I'm going to taste hot wings prepared this prepackaged way and this way over here. I can tell you, I can tell you that I'm starting to understand uh, the yeah, there was a certain element in what I've done that's been missing from the Blazing Hot Wings, and I think what I'm going to start doing is I'm going to maybe think about yeah, I think I'm going to start thinking about using sort of a more cornstarchy batter when I'm making these at home. I think there's a slight difference between flour and cornstarch. Yeah, yeah. And the baking powder, I think that's what they've been doing. I think I may have solved the biggest riddle. I think I just may have accidentally stumbled upon uh, blazing wing perfection inadvertently. Wasn't even looking for it. In fact, I thought I'd found it, but we'll see. Mhm. It was a little iffy at first, but I had to walk back over to the bowl some more of that wing before I even got these wings loaded into this bowl. Uh, let me tell you. Yeah, okay. Looks a little iffy, and that's because maybe I didn't get enough moisture on this blend, but this is good. So, um, the chicken wing and then the two ingredients were the baking powder and the crystal. And even though it was recommended using a non-aluminum baking powder, uh, that I'm not detecting anything that's going to bother me about that in my palate. You know, some people, like for instance, some people cannot stand cilantro because there's a slight bitterness that sometimes people interpret as a kind of a soapy or chemically or something like that. I love cilantro for that. For me, it has a balance of a natural, subtle parsley slash mint that comes out and kind of gives a balance to the natural bitter of cilantro. Plus, I love garlic, which has if you if you were to put garlic on this and bake it, the chicken itself would be really bitter because when you bake garlic uh, for a long period of time, it brings out bitterness of it. So anyway, um, you only can use like a granulated or powdered garlic in conjunction with a lot of other flavors as a balance. And you need to know what you're working with to properly do it right. It works great in a sauce, but as a broiling or baking, it would become bitter. So anyway, let me pause this, get the rest of these wings in here, and then let me just try this with the hot sauce because I think, oh my God, mystery has I don't know. This must be how uh, they felt when the bread got moldy and there was penicillin. So what I'm going to do is take this wing portion, douse it with Crystal by itself. Crystal is my sauce of choice. Let's see what this tastes like, kind of tossed around. Like I said, when I go over to the bowl over there, I'm going to blend all these together. But normally I would just be using Crystal. I just need to get rid of that Texas Pete. Let's see. So I think that they do this, and I think they just package it, and so this looks pretty damn close. Maybe they do this, and then maybe they bake it a little bit more to get uh, more of a crispy. Because when you add a sauce like this over crispy, um, the crispy can hold up. Because I'm seeing that it's going to hold up with this, but it can also develop a sog. But let me taste this. Hold on. Hold on. See, a well-baked wing will look like that when you finish eating it. And I even like to nibble on that. Okay. This is great. I thought that I had found my perfect recipe. And I guess for a quick solution, I will. Those wings, those pecan wings. But for a flavor that's a lot more, I mean, and I would have thought it was nearly perfect. I really thought the secret ingredient was the crystal, and it is. But for the breading on the wing, it's that baking soda, that cornstarch. Okay. Now let me go here and blend these two and toss them around, and I want to do a comparison. I tell you, I love this crystal hot sauce. I must have just been, they must have been out of it, and I must have really needed some hot sauce in order for me to spend money on Texas Pete. Because, it'd be something that I'm unfamiliar with. It was probably the only hot sauce, and I must have needed it for something. So I've got that blend of the two, and then I'm just going to just pour this and let it drizzle down. Honestly, I'm going to toss that, but I'm not quite sure that's enough. Oh yeah, that breading is going to grab this hot sauce. Hang on, I've got more hot sauce to use. Tell me, do you think I like hot sauce? I do for this. I like this. I don't use it on everything, but I do for this. A good thing about the crystal bottle is that it's got this rubber stopper for shaking on drops. Or if you're going to do like I'm going to do, you can remove that stopper that monitors, and you can just kind of just pour it around. And this, I'm just going to go ahead and use the full bottle. It won't make it spicier at all. But it'll just make it easier to toss and roll around. And as this drizzles around as I move these pieces around. Okay, so basically, one bottle of crystal hot sauce would probably be enough to do this bowl here, which was ultimately, it's about 4 pounds of chicken wings. And the reason why, because I love chicken wings. I need to eat on this almost exclusively for the next few days anyway, because I'm super keto right now. And I had a bit of beef at lunch, and then I had the remainder of a bag of, or a little can of Pringles. I had about 12 to 14 cans of Pringles. That gets me maybe 16 grams of carbs. So the rest of the day, the rest of the time, the carbs that I get, they need to pretty much come from this. And by the end of this, I will be like keto kicking. But this is really about the flavor of these wings. Hang on. So I fell so in love with these wings, in particular the crispy flavor, the crispy texture, and the reason why you don't have to do anything else, like other than the and I get it, the baking powder and then the pepper to taste, is because there's already a salt naturally in the baking powder. So you can reduce your salt there. And then there's salt, let's see, in this crystal hot sauce primarily is what I used. The ingredients here, yeah, aged cayenne peppers, distilled vinegar, and salt. So I used, I blocked it with just a little, it's probably inconsequential, but this Texas Pete, vinegar, aged peppers, which is pepper, salt, vinegar, and then some chemicals. So it's a little bit more chemical. So that's, right away, I'm down for the crystal over the Texas Pete. So I got my oven preheating. I'm going to put this back in until this spicy coating gets a little crispy. put it back into the oven and get that crispy finish, because I really loved that. And I want to see if I can get that done after I have saturated this chicken as it is, these chicken wings that came out crispy, and then I've saturated them with the hot sauce. So let's see what we can get done. Oh, I'm so close to perfection here. I can taste it. Haha, so I've got the vent fan blowing. I have put these wings in the oven, have gotten them really crispy after I poured the sauce over them. And yeah, what you want to do with this is you want to season, or you want to do this to uh, your own flavor. So there are varieties of hot sauces out there for trying to recreate the flavor that I loved. It was the Crystal. So um, this oven baking, and I put it back in. I did get a little bit of the tips getting a little bit uh, darker than I wanted to. But you know what? I think it's going to be a healthy trade-off, because let me tell you, the flavor of what I discovered, it's worth it. So much so that instead of eating at that moment or whatever, I wanted to put them back in and get a good crispy texture, because I love that. That really kind of sells it. I was a little, what can I do with the chicken wing that I've been doing and then using the hot sauce? But yeah, yeah, that was so great. And here we are, and 12:10, so it's just a little bit past midnight. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to let these sit here for 5 or 6 minutes. Let some of the natural juices just absorb back into this chicken. When you take something, you want to let chicken rest. Any sort of meat, really, you want to let rest when you first take it out of the oven, either to drain if it's fried, or if it's oven fried or baked or braised or anything like this. Any sort of oven, any sort of done meat, you really want the juices to absorb back into the tissues of the meat, in particular porks and chickens. Meat, if you get it to temperature, like a beef, if you get a beef to perfect temperature and you let it sit too long, it actually will it'll continue to cook. And actually, you like a good steak, you need to do it a little under temperature. If it's yeah, and that way it can sit and rest if it needs to. But for the most part, a steak you don't want to let sit too long and rest, because it will lose its temperature. It'll become overdone if it sits too long. So really, the best thing to do with the steak is to cook it to temperature and then serve it immediately without letting it sit for too long. That's one of the reasons why steakhouses, I think, have such a hard time actually making a decent steak. It takes years to learn how to work your oven, your grill with the steak, and with this whole the last few years they've had to train a whole new crop of people, like the country all over, and so they were all learning. So you don't go to a steakhouse expecting a good steak unless you know someone's really, really well trained and a good seasoned grill master, you know. But anyway, we're almost at 30. Let's just give this an official try here. All right, so just for a quick final comparison, just to look, I've got this hot wing that I made with the cornstarch and pepper, and then I put the same hot sauce over it, put it in the oven, and let it get crispy again. And this is the pecan encrusted wing that I like. That's going to be really good when I really don't want to worry about making a batter. I can do it this way. Okay. Firstly, these both came from the same pan. This treatment, I love it. This particular treatment seems to be crisping up and cooking and getting crispier than the breaded wing. So, but I'm going to try this because I love it. This is the pecan wing, but Usually the crystal kind of just really takes the flavor. But still there's that nutty under flavor. Okay, good. I got some blue cheese that I put on the plate as a palate cleanser because I want to be fair about this. Blue cheese is a creamy cheese, soft and creamy, and it's a powerhouse flavor. A little goes a long way. And the reason why I did that is because I want basically, I don't want the influence of the peanuts because it wasn't pecan, it was pecan. But the nutty flavor of this, I didn't want it to interfere with the the baking powder encrusted wing that I did the same treatment with. So I'm gonna have to give it a pull apart. So I'm gonna put you on pause for a second. If you want to be a little fancy, you can cut these. You can even lollipop them, But for doing it at home, I think it's great just to be able to pull them apart. So this is, yeah, it actually retains heat. Yeah, this is better. This is better. And I'm going to go on a limb here and say, not only, look how crispy that is. Not only does this have a better texture, but there is a slight, this works with the hot sauce even a little bit better. Flavor-wise, I wish you could see the screen that I'm looking at. A little piece of chicken has fallen onto the screen that I'm looking at. But it's okay. I just literally licked it off of the screen. Terrible. Okay, so I'll... Fortunately, my calorie count starts over at midnight, so I'm not hardly expending. I'm not burning through my carbohydrate budget at all with these chicken wings because there's like a minimal, They're both good. Both ways are good. I'm going to prefer, and this is going to be whenever I really have this craving for this particular essence of a wing that I've been going for, is going to be these baking powder encrusted with black pepper. And I'll probably cook them till they get a good crispiness and then roll them around in the crystal hot sauce and put them back in. So what I did was I did 40 minutes of the wings under for these 40 minutes under the 400 degree oven, and then I did probably about 15 minutes. So I just watched it until till it got a good crispiness, till the batter till it gets crispy. So yeah, I'm so excited. Okay, this is it. Everybody, look at all these bones. I love it. I'm so excited. What is this? It's wanting me to eat it. Love and light, peace. Bon appetit. Good night.